Hey, if you've been in the independent filmmaking world, then you've probably heard these two terms used a lot. One of them is amateur, and the other one is low budget. And people tend to mix the two up and use them interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. Low budget means you just didn't have a huge budget to shoot your production. Amateur means you just didn't shoot it to look the way that it needs to look for professionals, right? Amateur and low budget are not the same thing, but I didn't want to go into a whole thing about that. What I did want to do is give you a top 10 list of things that make your movie look amateur. This is in no particular order, so let me just jump right in. Number one is lighting. If you watch movies, cinematic masterpieces, Oscar award-winning films, you will notice that there's something about the way that they light things, the way the shadows fall on the actors, the way that the backgrounds are lit up, the way that light just lives inside of a real cinematic masterpiece. It is very different than amateurs. Amateurs tend to just turn on the lights and just light up the whole entire room, and it doesn't look cinematic. Sometimes it doesn't even look real. It looks like a sitcom. If you look at a sitcom, the whole entire room is just lit up with bright lights. That's not the look that you're going for if you're trying to create a cinematic looking movie. All right, so that's number one. Number two is sound. If you listen to the sound in a movie, it sounds very different than the sound that you hear in these amateur productions. Sometimes I look at this BTS footage and the boom pole is way too far from the talent, so the audio sounds a little less cinematic. Also, sound design, gunshots, ambient noises, background, different things. This is part of sound design. You need to have sound design to make your movie sound more cinematic. Number three is effects. The special effects, sometimes those gun flares that y'all use, they look ridiculous. They look two-dimensional while the video is three-dimensional. And sometimes they're not even the right size. They're either too tiny or they're too big, but most of the time they're usually too small. They don't fit or match with the gun that you're attaching it to. A lot of other things, the blood, sometimes the fight scenes, somebody's supposed to be hitting someone, but because you place the camera in the wrong place, it just doesn't sell. It's like a real soft punch. It just looks ridiculous. So that's another thing. Number four is casting. You're casting people for roles that don't even fit that role. You'll get someone and say, hey, this is a police officer, and they don't look like the police officer. You go and buy a $2 hat that says police, you slap it on the person and you're like, he's the police officer. Or you get someone and you cast them as a drug dealer and they don't even look like a drug dealer. What does a drug dealer look like? I know, but in cinema, in movies, characters look a certain way, and we stick to those stereotypes because that's what our minds are used to. So make sure you cast the right way. If you're casting somebody that's supposed to be wealthy or a drug dealer, they should look a certain way. Make sure they're wearing the proper clothing, make sure they have the proper accessories, props, jewelry, whatever it is. Make sure your effects just look believable, and make sure your casting looks believable. Number five, color blocking. This is something that I've noticed a lot of people don't do. Even me, sometimes I've been guilty of not doing color blocking. If you look at really perfect, excellent movies, they have superb color blocking. And basically what that means is knowing your scene, knowing what the colors are, and dressing your talent in a way that their colors complement the colors of the location. There's a scene in The Matrix where Neo is walking in this simulated universe and everybody is wearing these drab colors. And then the lady who pops out, who's an agent, is wearing red. That's called color blocking. They made sure her colors popped out against all of the other colors that was in that scene. And if you notice, if you watch a lot of shot well movies and TV shows, you'll notice like, how come I never see lime green? How come I never see bright yellow? How come I never see this color or that color? It's because they've done color blocking. They've made sure that the colors that are in that frame complement one another. And you can download a color wheel. I have an app on my phone that I use whenever I need to see what colors complement each other. Number 6, set design. Lord have mercy, the amateur set designs look amateur. Blank walls, something that's supposed to be a hospital and you just have a bed and a sheet. It's supposed to be a jail cell, and you can tell those are not the type of bars that are in a jail cell. Like, you guys really have to focus on set design that is gonna really make your scene believable. Don't do it if you can't do it. Just rewrite the story so that it's something else, which goes back to one of my other videos. Like, figure out the locations you have and build your story around that. Don't create a story and then half-ass it with weak set design. Get somebody on your team who really knows how to do sets. Number 7, I normally wouldn't say this, but camera. Sometimes having the proper camera can either make your project look amateur or it can make it look really professional. And it's a technical thing. Some of the abilities of some of these cameras just make things look more cinematic. It makes the colors look better when someone is editing. It makes the highlights, the bright parts of it look really good. It makes the dark parts look really good. The contrast, there's a term used a lot with certain cameras like Sony or Ari or Red or Blackmagic, and it's called color science. The color science looks really good in certain cameras. You can work around it with the right colorist, but you should try to get a camera that has a really good color science. Number 8, frame rate. Make sure you're shooting in either 23.98 or you're shooting in 24 frames per second. Those are the frame rates that work for that cinematic look. Not 30 frames per second, not 60 frames per second. You use 60 frames per second when you want to do slow motion. It's just something that you do. If you don't want that choppy slow motion, then you need to tell your cameraman to switch to 60 frames per second when he's shooting, or 120 frames per second, which slows it down even more, and then go back to 24 or 23.98 when you're shooting the rest of your film. Number 9, jerky camera movements. I hate when someone is in a frame and then they do a little bit like jerk the camera this way because something wasn't in frame. If it's not in frame, cut, reframe, and shoot over. Don't do jerky camera movements. That is not cinematic, unless it's something like running or action and it's meant to be jerky on purpose. But don't set up the camera, frame it, and then move the camera in the middle of the shot. That looks very amateur. So you have to know when to be stationary, when to move. Don't jerk the camera. It's gonna make your movie look very amateur. You can use a gimbal or you can use a tripod. Just keep it stationary for some shots if you can, or use a gimbal for other shots, all right? And number 10, lastly, but probably one of the most important things, is acting. Stop getting people who do not know how to act to carry your movie. Acting is more than just talking loud. Acting is more than just yelling on camera. Acting is evoking an emotion, making people feel what the character is going through. So make sure you get that in order so that your project does not look amateur. And who knows, you might knock off some of these things on the list and they just get better and better with each project. But make sure you go through this list and just look at your film and say, wow, is my lighting right? Is my sound right? Are my effects right? Did I cast the right person for this role? How's my set design look? Like, you really need to take into consideration all of these things so that you can avoid creating a project that looks very amateur. All right? And on that note, I'm out of here. Thank you for watching my channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and tell a friend about the channel. And remember, always stay creative, think outside the box. I'll catch you on the next video.
Are you ready to take your YouTube channel to the next level? Whether you're just getting started or already on your way to building a loyal fan base, you know one thing: consistency is key. Introducing the YouTube Planner and Accountability Journal, the ultimate tool for every content creator serious about growth, engagement, and success. This planner is designed to help you stay on top of your goals with easy-to-follow checklists, subscriber milestone maps, and customizable content schedules. Plus, we've packed it with inspiring quotes from top influencers to keep you motivated on even the toughest days. Because this isn't just a planner, it's your blueprint to growing a thriving YouTube community. It's about staying on track even when life gets crazy. So what are you waiting for? Go get your copy now on Amazon.